I will not hate them. I wish from my heart that they may gain a new insight and mend their ways. In this spirit, I also at once said a prayer for the soul of Assistant Secretary Roth, who died suddenly on 5th of July. He was a Catholic priest, originally in the Archdiocese of Munich, who worked for years without the permission and against the will of the bishop as an official in the Ministry of Ecclesiastical Affairs, composing and signing many documents which encroached on the Church's rights and injured the Church's dignity. And now he has been drowned during a boat trip on the River Inn. May God have mercy upon his poor soul. Thus, in accordance with our Savior's command, we will pray for all who persecute us and slander us. But as long as they do not change, as long as they continue to rob and banish and imprison innocent people, so long do I refuse any community with them. No, the community of convictions and aspirations in our people has been irreparably destroyed against our will and regardless of our warnings. And I cannot believe that our long-established citizenry and farmers, craftsmen and workers, that are women, that are fathers and brothers and sons, who even now are risking their lives for Germany at the front, can have any community of convictions with those who have persecuted and turned out our religious orders. We shall obey them insofar as they are entitled to give us orders as representative of lawful authorities. But it must be impossible for us to have a community of convictions, a sense of inner solidarity with these persecutors of the Church. These invaders of religious houses who expel defenseless women from their convents, the children of our best families, our sisters, many of whom have lived there for decades in work and prayer, doing nothing but good for our people. I should feel ashamed before God and before you. I should feel ashamed before our noble German forefathers, before my own late father, who was a chivalrous man and brought up, admonished, and taught my brothers and me sternly to show the most delicate respect to every woman or girl, to afford chivalrous protection to all the unjustly oppressed, particularly to women, as the images of our mothers and of the beloved Mother of God herself in heaven. If I had any community with those who drive innocent, defenseless women out of house and home and drive them out of their country without shelter and without resources. Moreover, as I showed last Sunday at St. Lambert's Church, and as I must repeat today with great solemnity, in a warning inspired by love for my people and my country, that these punitive actions by the Gestapo against innocent people, without any judgment by a court or judicial proceeding or opportunity for defense, the persecution of accused persons who are condemned in advance and deprived of any means of defense. In Reich Minister Dr. Frank's words, destroy men's security under the law, undermine faith in law, and destroy confidence in the government of our country. We Christians, of course, are not aiming at revolution. We shall continue loyally to do our duty, obedience to God, and love of our people and fatherland. Our soldiers will fight and die for Germany, but not for those men who, by their cruel actions against our religious, against their brothers and sisters, wound our hearts and shame the German name before God and men. We shall continue to fight against the external enemy, but against the enemy within who strikes us and torments us, we cannot fight with arms. Against him, we have only one weapon: endurance. Strong, tough, hard endurance. become hard, remain firm. We see the experience clearly lies behind the new doctrines which have for years been forced on us, for the sake of which religion has been banned from the schools, our organizations have been suppressed, and now Catholic kindergartens are about to be abolished. There is a deep-seated hatred of Christianity, which they are determined to destroy. If I am correctly informed, the head of indoctrination, Herr Schmidt, before an audience which had been invited by force, and which included schoolboys and schoolgirls, expressed this quite frankly. And District Leader Meyerling applauded him enthusiastically, expressing his intention to exert himself for the execution of such plans. Become hard, remain firm. At this moment we are the anvil rather than the hammer. Other men, mostly strangers and renegades, are hammering us, seeking by violent means to bend our nation, ourselves and our young people aside from their straight relationship with God. We are the anvil, not the hammer, but ask the blacksmith and hear what he says. The object which is forged on the anvil receives its form not only from the hammer, but also from the anvil. The anvil cannot and need not strike back. It must only be firm, only hard. If it is sufficiently tough and firm and hard, the anvil usually lasts longer than the hammer. However hard the hammer strikes, the anvil stands quietly and firmly in place and will long continue to shape the objects formed upon it. The anvil represents those who are unjustly imprisoned, those who are driven out and banished for no fault of their own. God will support them, that they may not lose the form and attitude of Christian firmness. When the hammer of prosecution strikes its harsh blows and inflicts unmerited wounds on them. It is our religious fathers, lay brothers and sisters who are now forged on the anvil. The day before yesterday, I was able to visit some of those who have been driven out of their temporary accommodations and to speak with them. I was greatly edified and encouraged by the valiant bearing of the good men and weak and defenseless women who had been so ruthlessly torn from their convent, from the chapel, from the vicinity of the tabernacle, and who are now going into unjust banishment with their heads held high in the consciousness of their innocence, trusting in Him who feeds the birds of the air and clothes the lilies of the field, and even joyous in the joy which the Savior enjoins on His disciples. Blessed are ye when men shall revile you and persecute you for my sake. Rejoice and be exceeding glad, for great is your reward in heaven. Verily, these men and women are masterpieces of God's forging. What is being forged in these days between the hammer and the anvil are our young people, the new generation, which is still unformed, still capable of being shaped, still malleable. We cannot shield them from the hammer blows of unbelief, of hostility to Christianity, to false doctrines and ethics. What is instilled into them at the meetings of these youth organizations, which we are told they join voluntarily and with the agreements of their parents?